The streetlights on Maple Street died one by one as we walked, each bulb flickering out the moment we passed beneath it. Emma didn't notice. She was too busy singing, her voice high and clear in the October cold, her breath forming little clouds that hung in the air just a bit too long.
5 more houses, Daddy. Then we go home, okay?
I nodded, watching our shadows stretch and twist on the cracked sidewalk. The last house stood at the end of the street, separated from its neighbours by an empty lot thick with dead grass that reached up to my waist. The house itself seemed to lean slightly, as if the foundation had given up years ago. That porch light was on, a sickly yellow glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Emma, I think we have enough candy. Let's head back.
No,
She pulled away from me, and I felt the cold where her hand had been.
that's the best house. Look how big it is. They probably have king-size bars.
She was already running toward it, her white sheet costume billowing behind her like a sail. I followed, and with each step the temperature seemed to drop. My joints ached, the air tasted like copper. The lawn was worse up close. The grass wasn't just dead, it was wrong, grey and brittle, and when my shoes pressed into it, I felt like things crack underneath that didn't feel like grass at all. The porch steps groaned under my weight, wood soft with rot. Through the grimy window beside the door, I could see into a living room that was completely empty, except for a single chair facing away from us toward a television that showed only static. Emma knocked, and the sound echoed inside the house like we were knocking on something hollow and vast. The woman who answered couldn't have been real. Her skin had that waxy quality of an old photograph left in the sun, and she moved with a stuttering motion like frames of a film were missing. When she smiled, her lips cracked and a thin line of something dark trickled down her chin.
What a beautiful little ghost.
She said, and her voice sounded like it was coming from somewhere else, somewhere deeper in the house.
Come closer, dear. Let me see you properly.
Emma stepped forward, and I grabbed her shoulder. The woman's eyes finally focused on me, and they were completely black. Not just the pupils, but the entire eye, like looking into 2 deep holes drilled into her skull.
What a protective father.
She said, tilting her head at an angle that made my stomach turn.
You know, I had a daughter once. She loved Halloween too. She loved it so much, she never wanted it to end.
That's sad.
Emma said. I tried to pull her back, but she wouldn't move. It was like she'd rooted to the porch.
What happened to her?
The woman's smile widened, and I could see her teeth went back too far, row after row of them disappearing into the darkness of her throat.
She went trick-or-treating one year and never came home, but that's okay.
She reached out, and her fingers were too long, each knuckle bending in too many places.
I get a new daughter every Halloween, and this year she looks just like you.
She touched Emma's face, and my daughter's eyes rolled back, showing only white. I yanked Emma away. She suddenly weighed nothing, like she was hollow, and ran. The woman's laughter followed us, and it didn't fade with distance. It grew louder, bouncing off the houses around us, coming from every direction at once. Emma was limp in my arms, and her skin was so cold it burnt my hands. The streetlights came back on as we ran, but they illuminated things that hadn't been there before. Other trick-or-treaters, standing perfectly still on dark lawns, their faces turned toward us. None of them were moving, none of them were breathing. Their costumes were decades out of style. I didn't stop running until we were home, doors locked, every light in the house blazing. Emma woke up on the couch an hour later with no memory of the woman or the house, but her Halloween bucket was sitting beside her, and I knew I hadn't brought it inside. Candy bar was in there, king size. Underneath it was the Polaroid. A little girl in a ghost costume standing on that porch. The date stamped read, October 31st, 1987. That wasn't the worst part. In the window behind the girl, barely visible in the static-filled darkness, was another face. A woman's face, smiling. And behind her, another child, and behind that child, another woman. On and on, faces stacked in the darkness, stretching back impossibly far, all of them watching the camera. The girl in the front was wearing Emma's costume, the same one, down to the chocolate stain on the hem from earlier tonight. I burnt that photo in the sink. The smell was wrong, like burning hair and something sweeter, something rotten. The smoke alarm didn't even go off, though the kitchen filled with that thick, oily smoke. But the ashes reformed on the counter after I went to bed. The same photo, except now there were two girls on the porch, Emma and the other girl, holding hands. That was 3 weeks ago. Emma has been different since Halloween. She doesn't blink as much as she used to. Sometimes I catch her staring at nothing, smiling that too wide smile, counting under her breath. When I asked her what she was counting, she said,
"The days until next Halloween, Daddy. The nice lady says I can come back then. She says I can stay forever. She says you can come too, if you want. There's room for everyone in the big house. There's so much room."
Last night I checked on her before bed. She was asleep. She was whispering something. I leaned close to hear.
"Thank you for the candy."
She whispered, eyes closed.
"Yes, I'll bring him. Yes, he'll come. Daddy always does what I ask."
This morning I found a new photo on my pillow. Same porch, same date stamp, October 31st, 1987. Now there were 3 figures, Emma, the other girl, and me standing behind them. My hand on Emma's shoulder, my eyes black holes in my face, my mouth open in a smile that showed too many teeth. The date stamp changed while I was looking at it. The numbers flickered and reformed. October 31st, 2025. Tonight is Halloween. Emma is already in her costume. She wants to go back to Maple Street. She says the nice lady is waiting. She says everyone is waiting. And the worst part, I want to go too. I can feel it pulling me. A hunger I don't understand. A need to walk down that dark street and knock on that door and step inside and see what's in that chair facing the static-filled television. Emma is calling me now.
"Daddy, it's time. Put on your costume. The nice lady says we're going to be so happy. She says we'll never have to leave."
I'm writing this as a warning. If you ever find yourself on Maple Street and you see that last house with the porch light on, don't go near it. Don't let your children go near it. But you will. I know you will. Because right now, as you're reading this, you can hear it too, can't you? That pulling, that hunger, that voice underneath everything, calling you home. The nice lady is waiting. She's always waiting. She has room for everyone. I need to tell someone what happened before I lose the ability to tell anyone at all. Before I become what I saw in that mirror. Before the knocking stops being something outside my door and starts being something inside my head. She was standing alone on the corner when I drove past, and that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was that she'd been standing in the exact same position, right foot slightly forward, pillowcase clutched in both hands, head tilted like she was listening to something, in every neighborhood I'd driven through that night. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence. Lots of little girls dress as witches for Halloween. This one, at every corner, on every street, for the past 40 minutes. Always alone, always in the exact same pose, always watching my car as I passed. It was nearly 10 p.m. and I was cutting through the south side to avoid traffic. This wasn't a trick-or-treating neighborhood. Half the streetlights were out, and the houses that weren't abandoned were dark, windows covered with bars or boards, no place for a child to be alone. I told myself to keep driving, call the police from home, let them handle it. But when I looked in my rearview mirror, she was standing in the middle of the road behind me, still in that same pose, and now she was close enough that I could see her face clearly in my brake lights. She looked exactly like Emily. My little sister Emily, who disappeared 27 years ago on Halloween night 1998 when I was supposed to be watching her. I stopped the car. Everything in my body screamed at me to drive, to get away, but my hands were frozen on the wheel. In the mirror, I watched her walk toward my car, and her movements were all wrong. She didn't walk like a child. She glided, her feet not quite touching the ground, her body moving in that stuttering frame-skipping way that old films have. I rolled down the window. The smell that came made me gag. Rot and chemicals, and underneath it all, the specific scent of the basement in our childhood home, that musty concrete smell. "Hey," I said, and my voice cracked. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" He looked at me with eyes that were too dark, pupils blown so wide there was no colour left. "I got separated from my daddy. Can you help me find him?" Her voice was Emily's voice. Same slight lisp on her S's, same inflection. Underneath it, I could hear something else. Static, maybe breathing, or maybe the sound of dirt being shoveled. Every instinct I had screamed danger. Looking at her face, Emily's face, exactly as I remembered it from that last night, I unlocked the doors. "Okay, get in. We'll find a police officer." She climbed into the back seat, and the car's suspension didn't shift with her weight. The pillowcase she carried made no sound when she set it down, even though I could see through the thin fabric that it was full of candy. "Thank you, mister," she said, and I could see her in the rearview mirror, hands folded in her lap, perfect posture, staring straight ahead at the back of my seat. "He said he'd be at the house with the red balloons, but I can't find it." "Red balloons? Okay." I put the car in drive, hands trembling. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emily." The temperature in the car dropped 20 degrees. My breath came out in clouds. The windows started to fog from the inside, and I could see handprints appearing in the condensation. Small handprints, dozens of them, covering every window, all pressing outward like they were trying to escape. "I'm David," he said, because what else could I say? Because this couldn't be real. It couldn't be her. It couldn't be anything except exhaustion and guilt and the same nightmare I've been having for 27 years. "I know who you are. Don't you know who I am?" I drove. I didn't know where I was driving. The GPS on my phone kept recalculating, the little arrow spinning in circles, the map showing streets that didn't match what I was seeing through the windshield. The neighborhood around me had changed without me noticing. Houses were different now, older, more familiar. This was the neighborhood I grew up in, 3 states away, the one I'd left when I was 13, the one I'd never come back to, but that was impossible. I was still in the same city, still on the south side, still... "We're here," Emily whispered. I looked up. We were parked in front of my childhood home. The house looked exactly as it had in 1998. Same yellow siding, same crooked shutters, same tire swing in the front yard that Dad had put up in the summer before Emily disappeared. Red balloons, dozens of them, tied to the mailbox, bobbing in a wind that I couldn't feel. What the fuck is happening? My voice came out high and thin. "Daddy's inside," Emily said. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, her face had changed. Her eyes were hollow now, not dark, but empty, looking into 2 tunnels that went down and down forever. Her mouth was open too wide, and I could see that she had no tongue, just a black void that pulsed and flexed. "He's been waiting for you." "I'm not your father." Couldn't move. My hands were locked on the steering wheel, knuckles white. "Emily's father is dead. He died 10 years ago." "Not that, Daddy," she said, and her voice was layered now. Multiple voices speaking at once. Children's voices, adults' voices, something else underneath that wasn't human at all. "The other one who came when you left me alone. One who knocked on my door and asked me to come out and play. One who took me down to the basement and showed me the room behind the furnace that wasn't supposed to be there." No, I didn't know about any room. I'd left Emily alone for 3 hours while I went to a Halloween party. When I came back, she was gone. The police searched everywhere, found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no witnesses. She'd vanished like smoke. You knew, Emily said. She was leaning forward now, her breath cold on the back of my neck. You knew there was something wrong with that house. You heard the sounds from the basement. You saw the door handle turning on its own at night. You felt that thing that lived in the walls, watching you, waiting. That's why you wanted to leave. That's why you begged Mum and Dad to move. I had begged them, but I'd forgotten. How had I forgotten? But you left me there, continued, her voice breaking into something that sounded like crying, but wasn't. Something wet and thick. You left me alone with it, and when it came for me, when it knocked on my door and asked me to come play, I went, because I was 5 years old, and I was scared, and you weren't there. Emily, I'm sorry. Don't call me that. Her hand clamped on my shoulder, and her fingers were ice, burning cold through my jacket. Emily died in the basement. Emily died in the room behind the furnace, in the dark, screaming for her big brother, screaming your name over and over until her voice gave out. I'm what's left. I'm what he made from what was left. I forced myself to look in the mirror. She was right behind me now, her face inches from mine, and I could see what she really was. Emily's shape was just a shell, stretched over something else, something that was too big for the child-sized body it inhabited. I could see the cracks in her face where the real thing underneath was pushing through. He wants to meet you, said, her jaw unhinged, opening wider and wider until I could see down into the impossible geography of her throat. Corridors and rooms and darkness that went on forever. He's been waiting so long. He wants to thank you for the gift you gave him. He wants to show you what he made with your little sister. He wants to show you what he's going to make with you. The front door of the house opened, not slowly, not dramatically, just opened, like someone inside had been waiting for us and knew exactly when we'd arrive. Lights were on inside. I could see figures moving in there, shadows that didn't match any human proportions. The basement is still there, Emily said. The room behind the furnace is still there, and Emily is still there, David. She's still in the dark, still 5 years old, still screaming your name. Time doesn't work the same way in there. For her, you just left. You just walked out the door to go to that party. She's been waiting for you to come back for 3 hours. 3 hours that lasted 27 years. I can't, whispered. Can't go in there. You don't have a choice. Her hand tightened on my shoulder, and I felt bones grinding together. You were always going to come here. This was always going to happen. When you left her alone that night, you created a debt, and debts in the dark always get paid. Something moved in the doorway of the house, something tall, something wrong. Made of angles that didn't exist and colours I didn't have names for, and when I looked at it directly, my eyes started to bleed. He's waiting, he said. We're all waiting. Everyone he's taken, everyone he's made, we're all in the room behind the furnace, and there's always room for more. There's always room for family. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I tried to move, but my body wasn't responding. The thing in the doorway was coming closer, and I could hear it now. The sound of its movement were like wet meat sliding on concrete, like bones breaking and reforming, like children crying in the dark. Emily leaned close to my ear, and her breath was the smell of the basement, the smell of rot, the smell of guilt, aged 27 years. It's time to come home, David. It's time to see what your choices made. It's time to meet your real family. The last thing I remember from that night was being pulled from the car by hands that weren't hands, dragged across a lawn that felt like skin, pulled through a doorway that was more like a throat. The last thing I heard was Emily laughing, and under her laughter, the sound of a child screaming my name over and over in the dark. I woke up in my apartment 3 days later, fully clothed, covered in dirt that smelled like that basement. I'd lost 72 hours. My car was in my parking spot. When I checked it, the The back seat was covered in a fine layer of dust, like it had been sitting unused for decades. On the seat was Emily's pillowcase, and when I opened it, I found things that shouldn't exist. Teeth that were too large to be human, Halloween candy from the 1990s that looked fresh, Polaroid of me at age 13 standing in front of my childhood home, my eyes scratched out with something sharp. The back of the photo, in a child's handwriting, "Thank you for the gift. See you next Halloween." That was 11 months ago. Since then, things have been happening. I catch glimpses of Emily standing on street corners, always watching my car. Hear knocking on my door at exactly 10 p.m. every night. 3 slow knocks. Pause. 3 slow knocks. Same pattern Emily used to use when she wanted to come into my room. Find red balloons tied to my car's antenna, my apartment's doorknob, my desk at work. The worst part, forgetting. Not forgetting what happened, but forgetting what I was before it happened. I look in the mirror and my reflection is starting to look wrong, like there's something else underneath my face, something pushing through. My eyes are getting darker, my movements are becoming jerky, frame-skipped. Sometimes I catch myself standing in the same pose Emily had, right foot slightly forward, hands clasped, head tilted like I'm listening to something no one else can hear. And I am listening, because I can hear it now. That sound from the room behind the furnace, that sound of things moving in the dark. It's not outside anymore, it's inside my head, and it's getting louder, and one day soon, it's going to be the only sound I can hear. Tonight is Halloween again, October 31st, 2025. I got mail this morning, a pillowcase full of candy, and a note that said, "Time to come home, big brother. Everyone is waiting. Daddy wants to see you." I'm going to drive tonight. Don't know where I'll end up, but I know where I'll eventually arrive. The house with the red balloons, the basement, the room behind the furnace where time doesn't work right and children scream in the dark forever. I'm writing this as a warning. You ever see a child standing alone on Halloween night in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time? Don't stop. Don't help. It's not a child. It's never been a child. It's something older and hungrier, wearing a child's shape like a costume. If that child looks familiar, they have the face of someone you lost, someone you failed. Drive faster, because they're not here to be saved. They're here to collect. The knocking on my door just started. 3 slow knocks. Pause. 3 slow knocks. I'm 5 floors up, and there's no one in the hallway. The knocking is coming from inside my apartment, from inside my walls, from inside my head. Emily's voice speaking from somewhere behind my eyes. "Let us in, David. Let us in. We're family. Family always comes home." My reflection in the computer screen just smiled at me. I didn't smile. My reflection did it on its own. The red balloons are appearing in my apartment now, materializing from nothing, floating against the ceiling. It's almost 10 p.m. It's almost time. The thing wearing Emily's face is standing in my living room now. I can see it in my peripheral vision, waiting. I don't think I'm going to finish this. I don't think I'm going to.